Hello, everybody. This is Maho Shonen, our Magic the Gathering podcast. I'm Victor,
I'm CJ.
And I'm Mitchell.
and together we're going to be talking about playing Magic with friends. So, last week we covered, deck construction and how to optimize and build a, coherent deck, and, whether or not you want to be at a high power level or a low power level. And the take-home message was that do what makes you happy. There is no wrong or right answer, so long as you're having fun and the play group that you're playing with is also having fun. But now we're going to dive deeper into strategies and tactics. So, without further ado, when building a commander deck, you usually want to figure out what your game plan is. What's your strategy? Are you playing aggro? Are you playing control? Maybe combo? And there's a lot of in-between strategies too, such as stacks and whatnot. So we're going to bring some interesting opinions about what strategies are viable and are they okay or fun to play against and play with. So the first one, it's a pretty big deal. It's land destruction, guys. So
My favorite.
oh man, so land destruction is a touchy subject, for the beginning of time, when Magic was created. Land destruction nowadays is hard to find, but that doesn't mean that you can't play those cards in Commander since there's no rotation list. But should you play those cards?
I think you should. They are, if you have a strategy for them. I should clarify. If your deck has a strategy for land destruction, and if you board wipe everyone's lands, and you're able to win after doing something like that, I think it's very viable. Especially in decks like Lord Woodgrace, where your deck goes off by having lands in the graveyard, because you want to bring those back with his ability. And you're using a lot of cards. Some new cards that came out, from Modern Horizons, like Ayula's Influence, which is a 3-drop, 2 green, 1 colorless. You discard a land card, and you make a 2/2 bear. You also have...
But that doesn't really constitute in land destruction.
No.
Though.
But I'm saying
The-
it goes along with Windgrace's ability of you wanting lands in your graveyard. So when you board wipe everybody's lands, usually the way I built my deck is I have a card I can use, and I'll float my mana, and I'll have mana doublers to do extra things. I'll float my mana, use the secondary card to bring back all my lands from the graveyard, and then start doing whatever. Start dropping creatures, start attacking, while everyone else is still, they're kind of left behind.
For me, I think the land destruction, single target land destruction is very weak in my opinion. Where it's it feels bad when you're the one that gets hit, but as a strategy, I don't know if it warrants it. Mass land destruction though, it's I agree. You need to have something to go with it. If you just mass land destruction and then that's it, I just did it because I have the mana to do it. It's pointless. What did you accomplish? You just reset the turn back to 0 or something like that. I don't know, but it's I kind of wish that there was more land destruction cards where it was target more than one, but not all. But it would be each opponent. I don't know. That's a card. That's a card idea. But
I think the good ones, if you're just going for a single target, the good ones are Ghost Quarter and Strip Mine, especially Ghost Quarter.
Yeah.
I think Ghost Quarter is one of the better ones, because what if you need a basic land? Because what if you got all the colors except for one, but you have multiples of others? You just sack your Ghost Quarter, sack another land that you don't need to get the color you do need. So it helps color fixing. Yeah, you do kind of losing 2 lands with that, but I think Ghost Quarter does help yourself if you ever find yourself in that position.
That is an interesting thing, but I don't know. I think that is an upside that Ghost Quarter does have, where you could target yourself and get yourself out of a sticky pinch. But back to what I was saying, how about mass land destruction? I think mass land destruction is personally okay so long as you do it with a purpose, right? So for example, you said, your Lord Windgrace deck is taking advantage of being able to replay lands out of your graveyard, so you can kind of seal the deal. Another really common mass land destruction deck that I tend to see a lot is like, big stompy decks like Kalia and, even Mael, where they establish just a powerful board state with creatures, and then they just, play an Armageddon to destroy all the lands and seal the deal. Now that your opponents are left without lands, they don't have enough mana to interact with your creature in your board, and it kind of seals the deal, and you just beat them down with all your big fatties. Because if you do something like that, the game's about to be over in about maybe 2 or 3 more turns. Just attacking it, and they're still trying to recuperate and rebuild everything. But then, the game's about to end, and I think that's totally fair. Now, like what you said, Mitchell, where if you're just doing it just because you're doing it, now that you're just being a kind of a jerk, low key, and it's like there's no purpose behind it. You're just like an anarchist where you're doing it just because you can, but then what's the purpose? Now we all have to start, like, you might as well have just started a brand new whole game, right? You might as well.
Start at turn 0.
Exactly.
I think if you board wipe, especially if you play a card like Decree of Annihilation, which not only gets rid of lands, but everything, and exiles it, and you have no other plan except for just to be like, well, I just really wanted to do that, which I've only done once, and I realized my horrible, horrible mistake.
I think you lost that game, didn't you?
I did. I recommend to players they need to have a strategy for it. Like you said with Kalia, I run Armageddon in my Kalia deck because the thing is, if I board wipe everyone's lands, no one can get rid of my Kalia. I can just keep swinging in with my creatures because I don't need to hardcast my stuff. I just drop it with their effect.
That's true. So here's another proposition for you guys, though. So back you saying like land destruction, like mass land destruction can be frowned upon, but single land destruction is that okay?
Single land destruction, I feel like it's okay. It's just not as strong as a strategy, I think.
You're right. You're definitely right, because it's like hitting one land in the grand scheme of things is not too powerful, but some people get really touchy when you touch their lands.
It's a taboo.
If it's like, people have Gaia's Cradle, and someone has a strip mine, and they're just like, you know what, this person's getting too much value off that cradle. You gotta take it out.
Exactly.
And I think that's really like Dose Quarter, Strip Mine. What's the other one?
Field of Ruin.
Field of Ruin. Like those are probably. I don't consider them, even though they do tap for lands. Those are more like utility lands. You have that in your deck just in case something happens. And I honestly think most people run Ghost Quarter just land in case of they come across anybody playing a land that nobody wants to play against. I don't know.
I personally would rather run Tech Edge.
Oh, that's right.
Tech Edge is a good one too, but regardless, though,
Strip Mine's the best.
Because there's those new lands that came from Ixalan, the treasure lands that flip. The artifacts that flip over to expedition type lands. And there's one where it's a Gilded Lotus but land form. There's another one where you can grab a creature out of your graveyard. Those lands become a little bit more important depending on how you play it in your deck. And so if you have the ability, a card like Ghost Quarter, Tech Edge, Strip Mine, Field of Ruin to destroy those cards, then I say go for it.
Yeah, it's totally fair game, because let's be real here. It's that, who in their right of mind would let a Cabal Coffer stay there? Like, ideally, the whole game of Magic is to defeat your opponents, right? So you gotta bring opposition and try to hinder their game plan. They'll try to protect their Cabal Coffers, but at the same time, you're going to try to destroy it so that you can get ahead, or at least bring it back down to parity because they're generating too much, like you said, value. So, to the listeners out there, honestly, go ahead and play some single target land destruction cards, just because I feel that it's somewhat mandatory, because you'll never know what kind of land you go up against that you just can't deal with. Like, for example, some decks can't beat a Glacial Chasm.
Oof.
And for those who don't know what Glacial Chasm is, it comes to play and you have to immediately sacrifice land. It sounds pretty bad, but what it essentially does is that they cannot take any damage, and they can't attack, but it also has a cumulative upkeep cost of 2 life. But here's the thing though, most decks that do play the Glacial Chasm, they can handle the upkeep cost or have ways to play multiple lands per turn from the graveyard and just let the chasm die and it comes back, and then they'll beat you through other means by not attacking. And if your deck is only meant to beat them by attacking and you can't deal with that problematic land, then you're in for a world of hurt. It's best that you have as many tricks as possible in your deck so that you're ready for any sort of game that you're going to be playing against. So,
and it also depends on like your play group too.
Very true. So I would definitely talk about your play group. So like us, we had a couple people, namely you, Chris, who love mass land destruction, but I told you to do it with a purpose. So that it's our games don't go back to ground zero and we're just here hoping to top deck a land.
Hey, sometimes that meteor's got to strike.
Yeah. So land destruction, in our books, I think it's fair so long as it's justified and has a purpose and it'll seal the game, and you're about to win, so that people don't have to go through that suffering of not being able to play Magic, right? But of course, always talk to your play group. If you're playing with a bunch of randoms, ask them too, because some people, it is like Mitchell said, it's a taboo, right?
It's a taboo, apparently.
Well, nobody likes to not play Magic here.
That's true.
So, but here's next strategy though. It's kind of similar. Land destruction could be considered part of this overarching strategy, and it's stacks. And I'm actually kind of a big fan of stacks if it's implemented properly, because it's somewhat kind of fun to play against. And to the viewers, stacks stands for sacrifice and taxation effects, where you play certain creatures, enchantments, and artifacts that slow down the game and causes your opponents to either sacrifice things or tax them for, essentially playing Magic. And a lot of people don't like it because, in a sense, you're not allowing them to play Magic. They still can, it just takes them longer to. So I want to hear your guys' opinions on stacks, because stacks is a very touchy subject as well, just like land destruction.
We have a player in our play group who
we actually have a couple actually.
Well, yeah, we have
There's a couple
few that have
of us out
stacks
here.
group. This person in particular built a Lavinia stacks deck, and I'm not gonna lie, first time he played it, I didn't realize exactly what was gonna happen. Now every time he brings it out, it's honestly like, okay, I'm gonna have to go for you, because I want to play my cards and I don't want to be prohibited to basic rules Magic of everything fair.
What? You mean to tell me that you don't like playing a fair game of Magic?
I think a fair game of Magic is having everyone be set loose.
Just gotta let the prison doors open.
Let the prison doors open? Oh my goodness, we need order, guys. That's why stacks players exist, so combo players don't win all of a sudden out of nowhere on turn 2 or turn 3. But, Mitchell, I remember we had an interesting conversation. What's your opinion on stacks?
So, I originally thought that stacks was only about mana, restriction abilities. I didn't realize that it was to the fullest extent as it is in just not playing in general. I have a Tromball deck, and I originally thought it wasn't stacks, but I guess it is stacks.
It is, because a lot of people don't realize the full encompass of what makes stacks, and it's any sort of taxation effect, whether it's mana taxation or sometimes it could be other hate cards as well. And
not only that, but it can also just be effects that just prevent a creature from attacking.
Exactly. So then that's why I thought it was absolutely hilarious when you told me your opinion on it. Yet you're over here playing your Comball deck, and I was like, do you realize what you're playing? It's stacks.
You have even Mind Sensor in there. You're prohibiting from people from searching their deck.
That was after I realized, and now I'm just embracing it.
See, stacks is totally fair.
I play a few stacks card. I play 2 in Kalia. I play Angel of Tiths and the Linvala.
Oh, Linval's a really strong one too. Yeah, that's a good one.
And then I
Grand
have my
Abolisher.
I do, Grand Abolisher. He is well,
he's a defensive piece of stacks.
He's more like you want to be able to play your turn without people interfering with you. Whereas like a lot of stacks deck is just more like field based, field spell, like nobody do anything.
Well, technically, Grand Abolisher says a big, no to blue players. So
Yeah.
in a sense, it is a stacks piece, but like I said, stacks, there's a wide variety of degrees of stacks. Combo himself is also stacks piece because he punishes you for playing, instants and sorceries and non-creature spells. So now here's the thing though, is that like, is stacks fun to play against? Me personally, I think stacks is actually pretty fun to play against if you're equipped forward to do so. So you need to have lots of removal to remove stacks creatures and like the artifacts and enchantments that's preventing you from, playing the game efficiently. Now here's the thing, is that a lot of people tend to not like it because they're not equipped to do so. Because in my opinion, when you have that tug of war and you're fighting through and you finally succeed and break through the stacks player, oh my goodness, does it feel awesome because you hit this huge sense of accomplishment and then nothing can stop you. You know what I mean? So that's why I think it's a totally fair game, so long as you're equipped to do so and you're at the same tier level of stacks. What do you guys think about stacks? Like, because like we do have a little bit of stacks in our group, but it's not hardcore.
No, I think our group is pretty moderate, like not too, pretty mild basically. They're, if you were to put in salsa terms,
Salsa terms?
there are some that
We're
are
mild.
We're mild.
I did that.
There are some that are, they're salsa verde, so they're not all that spicy. And then you got the ones who are, they're
The caliente.
the caliente players.
No, man, it's straight up El Diablo,
El
Diablo.
habanero, and all of that.
They got ghost peppers going on over there.
Oh, yeah.
You know? And I think when you start getting to that might be a little bit more competitive. Going back to a previous video, that might be going past 7 and 8, moving more 9, 10 if you're caliente.
Well, I guess you're probably right, but here's the thing: is that do you think it's justified since it's a meta dependent then, like the certain types of stacks that you play to help stop certain things?
I think some players just like to control things, and so they build a stacks deck because that's just their.
That might be
playstyle.
true.
Oh, you brought up a great point. So does that mean that like control players would probably love playing stacks then?
I really do think so.
Oh.
I think control players, they play control because that's what they like to do.
They want to be in charge.
Oof.
That epiphany, guys. Now when you guys see a control player, you ask them, what their personality is like, and see if they're a control freak or not.
Whoa.
I think
I'm just messing
that
with
should
you guys.
be the,
Whoa.
that should be what how you define a player's style. Like how you have the color pie test. I think depending on your play style, like if you're going stacks, if you're going combo, you're going aggro, mid range. That's really the definitive definition of the type of player you are.
Okay. So
It's also a self-discovery of who you actually are.
Yeah, like
oh, that's so true.
I never knew I liked green until I started playing green. I was like, whoa, I can play stuff.
Oh yeah, I encouraged Chris to play green. I was like, dude, what are you doing with your life? Like, and he's like, what? And I was like, dude, just here you go, play Kodamas, reach and cultivate, and now you like, oh my god, more lands. Oh, it's supposed to vegetation back in the day. Like, oh,
Yeah, like I have maybe like 20 decks I built, and I want to say at least 8 to 10 of them have green. So it kind of shows the type of player you are. If you want to just go all out, if you want to be aggro, if you want to be mid-range, you want to be stacks, it really shows the type of player you are when you start playing.
You guys got some good points here. So here's another question for you guys, though, and to the viewers, though. So when you're doing all these stacks and control-y plays and whatnot, is it acceptable if you don't necessarily have a win con? Because a lot of people look down on having a combo finisher in your deck. How do you guys feel about infinite combos in general? Because it's, again, I guess for some odd reason, this is another taboo subject by a lot of players.
I think infinite combos are good. If you have an infinite combo in your deck and you're able to play it, I think it just shows the type of player you are, that you were able to go in, you created this combo to win. you were able to assemble the 5 pieces of Exodia and win
I have
the game.
assembled all the pieces for victory.
You know that it's true. Like if you can pull together an infinite combo, especially in like a 3-4 player game, you know, where you have multiple players you're trying to go up against, and you're able to pull that off, I think it's a viable win. You know, some players, you got 2 card combos, you got, you know, really, but if players allow it to happen, you see that that Ballista out with what's his he's from Innistrad.
Okay.
It's the black priest.
Oh, you're talking about Macias.
Yeah, Macias.
Macias was either Walking Ballista or Triskelion.
Yeah, if you see that out on the field, you know it's like, and if you didn't stop it, you can't really be complaining. Like, if you didn't stop it and he wins that way, who's really at fault?
Oh, for infinite combos, I kind of don't mind them. I think I do mind it if my deck doesn't do what it was supposed to do. Like if the cogs and the wheels of my deck aren't turning before like the combo finishes for like an opponent, then I kind of feel bad because then it's like, did I actually play?
Oh, I see. So then, okay, that's definitely reasonable, because a lot of feel bad moments is that your deck never got a chance to shine and do its thing, right?
Yeah.
Because like overall, you know, I think everyone has the right to enjoy Magic however they want to enjoy. And if you see a combo finish, you know, going off, like an infinite combo on like turn 4 or 5, and like you said, Chris, in the 3 to 4 player pod, you gotta like, you know, why punish the player for like wanting to, you know, assemble all the pieces of Exodia, and then like they found the right timing where everyone's tapped down, or he had enough protection to force through that combo. It's like that takes a lot of strategy and skill to assemble those things and then do it without getting caught, or also like having enough protection to do so. And it's one of those things where like I just find it silly how people don't like infinite combos, because, you know, when you're stuck in a slugfest game where all you're doing is just playing value creatures and smacking each other for just regular combat damage and stuff like that, games tend to go forever. You know, some players love that, you know, that battle cruiser style Magic, you know, but
Been there, done that, don't like it.
exactly. You know, it's like, but our play group specifically has like kind of grown and evolved a little bit where we don't mind it, and we actually much prefer to play more games with each other because it makes for more memorable moments and have the night be even better.
I think when a combo comes out of nowhere, you put your pieces together and you don't realize it's a combo, and then it just bam, stuff just starts happening and you're just like, whoa, this just like happened. I think that's one of the best infinite combos to come across, because it's like you didn't realize your cards would do that when you built your deck. It's just you played and cards came together and you're just like, wait a second, the proper sequencing happened and I now win. And everyone's like, damn, I didn't see that coming. Like that's a legit win. Like, wow. I think those are the really fun infinite combos to win by, because like you didn't realize those cards' interactions would work that way until it just happened.
Yeah, I can definitely see that, but at the same time it's like those are really rare, because when you're building a deck you tend to know what you're putting into your deck.
There is. Yes, it's, you know, like I have my Marin deck and I have about 3 ways to go kind of infinite with like kind of the same cards, you know, Nim Deathmantle and
Ashnod's Altar.
Ashnod's Altar, yeah. I was like, God, what's the other altar? Yeah, like Nim Deathmantle, Ashnod's Altar, and then I have other...
Peregrine Drake.
Well, that's blue.
He's talking about specific for Marin combo.
Yeah.
Oh, Marin combos.
But it's
well,
like,
I don't know what you can do in Marin.
well, there's
with,
like, you can use like Avengers Zendikar, and you could sack your tokens, and then eventually make enough mana and sack your Avenger.
Oh,
and
yeah,
then
that's right.
And
bring him back with Nim
Ah.
Deathmantle, and then eventually you bring out God, it's an artifact.
Walking Ballista.
Well, I didn't put Walking Ballista. I have
Oh yeah, I guess you should.
You definitely can.
it's from
Which one?
God, It's when a creature enters the battlefield, you untap the artifact, and then when you tap it, it like deals 1 damage to a target player or I can't think of the name. I can't think of the name of the card right now.
Yeah, that's
but
cool.
it's like I have like combos to be able to go off, and I have multiple cards in case somebody destroys one of my cards.
Well, is that a combo or is that synergy?
Well, it's synergy, but it goes infinite basically until everyone's dead. Like I make infinite mana, and then it's just like, why kill everybody?
Okay.
Yeah, so here's the thing though, is that like I think that's totally fair because how many pieces does it take to do that? And you mean to tell me that you don't have any sort of disruption to break one of the pieces?
It is a big.
Who's really at fault here? You know what I mean?
Yeah, it takes about 4 or 5 cards to actually get it going, and that's Exodia right there.
Got him.
So infinite combos, I think they're totally fine. But what about, how do you guys feel about like, fair decks, just like aggro? Is it viable? Should you do it? Because a lot of people, when they build their first commander deck, tend to be just value town, where they slowly just like 2 for 1 your opponent, and then you guys end up in a top deck war, and your creatures are just generally better than their creatures, or you get to replay your creatures more often. For example, Muldrotha is definitely a value town type of commander.
Where is your Muldrotha deck, Chris?
I'm working on it.
Oh.
I honestly start deck brewing, and then I work on it, and then I'm like, it's not complete, it's not ready.
All right.
It's a work in progress. But yeah, I think aggro is still pretty viable. Like I run a Boros deck with the new I'm having a brain fart about her. Aurelia, yeah, the new Aurelia from Guilds of Ravnica with her mentor ability. Like I run her as my commander, and there are so many other Boros commanders I could be running. But I was like, you know what? I'm gonna build her because I don't think a lot of players built her, and I just really fell in love with her card design and image, and it just kind of it went from the theme of just like putting out little weenies, like Boros Legion weenies, and mentoring them to I built it up further. Aurelia can sometimes Voltron her, like I Voltron her by giving her Black Blade Reforged.
Black Blade.
I have an infinite combat combo in there with Neheb the Eternal and Aggravated Assault.
Which is increasing in price, by the way. Sorry, just side note.
So it's like, I think if you build the deck a certain way, and especially colors and like Boros colors, it's very hard to like. You're kind of limited on card draw and mana ramp.
Well, Boros is like does what it does best, right? Beat face.
Yeah,
Smash
and
face.
I've won with that deck on multiple occasions, and it's honestly really fun to win with those colors because those colors are very hard to pull off.
Okay, so, all right, to the listeners out there, when deciding a deck, you want to keep a strategy in mind on how to win. So aggro is totally viable. It takes work, but you can pull it off. Value Town definitely works, but I would only suggest it for those who like to play the long game, because Value Town tends to be very grindy. Control players, if you like to play stacks and land destruction, do it with a purpose. Make sure that there is a solid plan of how to win, because
you only counter things that would affect your win.
Exactly. Or you actually don't want to, you want to be a little bit nice and not make them miserable, where the only way to win is have them concede, because I think that's kind of ridiculous. But some people do that. And then as for combo finishers, honestly, combo finishers I think are a-okay, right, guys? If anything, me personally, I think every deck should at least have one combo finisher so that you can, put the nail in the coffin and,
Either that or one finisher.
Yeah, you want your deck to win, and if you... when I built Marin, I didn't really have a way to really win. I had value. I had Marin value, basically, and when I finally realized...
It was grindy.
Yeah, and when I realized, you know what, I need something to win. I think that's how all players should be like. Have at least one way to win the game, because if you don't, it's like, what's your deck's purpose?
Most definitely. Go, man.
I think that's the question that is that we should all ask: does our deck have purpose?
Yeah, isn't that all?
Because you want to win. That's the ultimate goal.
That is the ultimate goal, but here's the thing: is like, how are you going to win, right? With style and
Yeah.
like, what's the game plan? Well, luckily, if you are playing Commander and using the command zone's power scale, a 5 to 6 means that you're focused, so you do have a plan. Hopefully, your plan is a
Just
good
to
one.
win.
It's a good plan. Yeah,
I mean, smashing face is a pretty good plan too, but
but there's some long bumpy roads because it's 120 left to chew through in a 4-player pod.
that's true.
Not
Yeah.
unless you got that infect.
Ah, yes.
I think that's another. Oh, well, I mean, since we're on the topic of strategies, is infect? I guess infect would be considered like aggro, right?
Yeah, definitely. I would think.
How are your takes on infect?
Honestly, I totally think infect is fair game because, well, you gotta work hard. There's not that many infect creatures to begin with, and most infect creatures are pretty tiny. They're 1/1s and 2/2s.
They're weenies.
Like the biggest one is Blightsteel Colossus, but it's an expensive card.
It is.
And it's
And-
11 mana. Is it 11 mana?
It's yeah, because I think it's 11/11 as well, or
Yeah, it's
11/11. Yeah, because
So
you get
that's-
that one extra trample.
Yeah.
But that's what I mean, though. It's one of those things where like infect gotta work, and to be honest, most infect strategies, besides from Horde and Triumph of the Hordes, it's like an all-in strategy against one opponent, and if they happen to not have an answer for it, then I hate to say it, but tough luck. It's like you just didn't have an answer, or maybe you couldn't politic enough to not be the one to get attacked, or couldn't get help from your other opponents. Because it is a political game where it's a multiplayer experience, a social gathering, and it is what it is. And then on top of that, usually when one player gets KO'd by an infect player, usually the other two players has enough time to already set up their defenses, and they already see it coming a mile away. So it's really hard for an infect player to actually seal the game in one go, unless it's, again, through Triumph of the Horde, or some funny means of, giving...
Cleaners with infect.
Yeah, right? So, I was thinking about, maybe give Nekusar, a Tainted Strike and you wheel somebody.
Give Mogris a tainted strike.
Yeah, something...
I've done that.
Something
in my,
something ridiculous like that. So, but overall, a lot of people argue about if infect should go up to 20 infect counters,
Oh.
because we have double the life total compared to a standard 1v1 game. But if you do that,
Negative.
infect is just absolutely useless. It is I personally think it's very hard to get someone to 10 infect.
Yeah.
You have to work on it.
You
You
really
have
do.
to hit one player nonstop.
And then on top of that, it's a strategy that you have to devote to. You have to put a lot of cards into it, and it takes up a lot of your depth building, crucial decisions and your cuts. And if you're punishing a player for not being able to, do what he wants to do, and not, feel rewarded that he made these, deck check decisions and how to build his deck and make it work, who's the real villain here? You know what I mean? You're prohibiting someone to play Magic how they want to play. Of course, nobody is wrong, because if you don't like infect, then you just gotta find a group that's okay with that. Or you talk to the person where it's hey, I don't appreciate you playing infect. Do you got another deck that we can play? And
No, Chris has all infect in his decks.
Well,
Just
I
kidding.
think the professor brought it up. He says, "Why not run infect in all your decks?"
it's yeah, you could, but here's the thing: but does it aid to your strategy though? That's the thing.
And I think that's really the biggest question. Is all of these topics, all of these different strategies we brought up, really affect how you play the game. So I think, depending on the type of player you are, if you're gonna go infect, it's usually an aggro play style. If you are a control type player, you're either gonna be blue counter spells, or you might go stacks. If you are just want to battle cruise magic, you play those big beasties.
And slap down value creatures and value enchantments and artifacts and stuff, then by all means there's no wrong answer, right?
No.
I don't think so.
Yeah.
I think Magic is honest. We play Commander, and it is a casual format, and as honestly one of the reasons why I got interested into it. More happened. I didn't want to get rotated out of Standard, but I think it's a casual format, and it's supposed to cater to everyone's unlimited creativity.
Yeah, I personally enjoy seeing all the interactions with different cards. Sure, sometimes it's kind of boring to see the same interactions over and over again, but like when you get to see like interesting like synergies, I don't really have a idea. Oh, okay. In my combo deck, there's like God Pharaoh's what is it it's an 04 God Pharaoh's assistant, or
is it what is it? God Pharaoh's like. I know what exactly you're talking about. It's like an 04 for 1 man that gains you some life whenever you cast a black spell, right?
yeah, and then having the one vampire from M19 that whenever you gain a life at the end of if it's like the end of a turn, you get a 1/1 bat. Some interesting synergies like that. I like seeing that in Magic a lot.
Okay. So here's the thing, though. Is like, now that we talked about some of the more popular strategies that you see in Commander, what's your recommendation to the viewers out there how to deal with problematic things besides, the typical talk it out if it's too powerful for you? So
Destroy them in Magic. Show them the right way.
Perfectly balanced as all things should be, yo.
Because this is the thing, is like a lot of players don't like infinite combos, but then if that's the case about infinite combos, then you just gotta play more interaction, more counter spells, removal, instant speed removal would be best. Or sometimes you do have to play stacks to prevent them from assembling, all the pieces of Exodia and just go off, right, guys? So, we got to wrap things up here, but do you guys have any final words, tips and tricks for strategies? Everything is viable. The world's your oyster, and as long as you're having fun, and as long as your playgroup's a-okay with it, then in reality, you do you.
You do you, boo.
As they say in McDonald's, have it your way.
Wait a second.
Ba-da-da-da-da.
Wait, is it have it your way, Burger King?
Oh, that's right.
Oh my goodness.
Rip.
Ooh, I did wrong companies. I did cross.
It's the
I
crossover.
believe McDonald's is. I'm loving it.
Oh, you know what?
It is
Have it your way, and I'm loving it.
Okay.
All right.
All right.
So we even though McDonald's and Burger King are competitors, they can look to each other eye to eye, and they can agree on certain things. Right? I guess that's the take home message, guys. Is that talk to your playgroup about it, and then see what strategies are too powerful for them, and if it is, then either you got to power down or you got to encourage them to power up.
Or you gotta go the distance.
Yes, you got to power up and go beyond. Anyways, guys, this is Victor.
This is CJ.
And this is Mitchell.
And this is Maho Shonen signing out.
Shakabra.
Shakabra.
Is that going to be a thing now from now on?
I don't know.
No.
It's only if you
Well,
want
it
it.
could be. You know how like Joshi Kwai has this like.
Shadowverse has a 6 sealed pack.
What
now.
is Joshi?